Good morning, my friends. My name is Ryan Freeman. Welcome to my life. Welcome to episode 11 of my first backpacking trip to Europe. In the last episode, my traveling partner and best friend, Paul Cameron, leaves me on a flight to Alaska. Actually, a ferry to Athens, then a flight to Alaska. And I was left on the island of Ios, this party island where they're having wet t-shirt contests. People are drinking, laughing, very riotous and clamoring. However, I myself was not in the party mood. As you could imagine, when your best friend and traveling partner leaves, and just the day before that, two girls that you were very close to leave, and now all of a sudden you're on the other side of the world, you don't speak Greek, you don't even have a guidebook, you don't know what you're gonna do in an hour or the next day, and you're alone, sleeping in a tent with mosquitoes buzzing around. I felt very lonely, very sad, and a heavy sort of emotion pervaded me, sort of despair. People are friendly, and this is one of the things, and this is something I want to say about depression in all circumstances. It is unfortunate that we can actually get despairing or depressed even in beautiful circumstances. Like, I was at this party island with all these young people around my age, beautiful girls, friendly guys, and I could have probably had fun and continued having fun, but I was holding on to my attachment to Paul and my idea that we were going to travel together. So there's this idea in philosophy, Eastern philosophy primarily, where I've heard it, of attachments. And the more you are attached to ideas of how things should be, or people and places, when you lose them, then you suffer that pain and that suffering. And your life is always constantly flowing, constantly changing. And so our idea of holding on to permanence of any sort is where the root of a lot of our suffering comes from. That's like Taoism, Buddhism, probably a little Hinduism as well, but definitely Taoism. So looking back, it's hindsight, I can say, like, come on, dude, cheer up. Yeah, Paul's gone. Yeah, Annie and Catherine are gone, but go to the pool and make some friends and have some fun. But that's not how I felt. I felt very sad, and it was natural. So it's okay to be depressed. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to have attachments. And that's how I was. And I thought, sometimes when I don't feel well, especially back then, when I didn't feel happy, I thought perhaps just changing the scene, perhaps a little travel will change it up. And I think actually a lot of people do end up doing a lot of activity to sort of, take away their problems or distract them from their problems. And so that's what I did. I decided I was going to leave Ios and I was going to go to Crete. Crete is the largest of the Greek islands. This is the home of the ancient Minoan civilization. I believe the Minotaur. Do you remember the Minotaur, that bull man with horns? I believe his story takes place on Crete. And so my uncle, Bob, had told us about Crete, and he told us about the life, in quotes, this perfect nude beach that me and Paul had to go to. So that was on our radar. Even though I wasn't a nudist at all, I had gone to a nude beach with Bob in Switzerland. I had saw him naked, but I didn't get naked myself. I was still a pretty bashful, conservative, 21-year-old American kid. But Bob had a very strong influence on me, so his ideas and his suggestions with his enthusiasm were so powerful that it was hard to ignore. So I went to the ferry, took a ferry to Crete, arrived in, I believe, the port city of Hania. And in Hania, I was taking a bus. I think it was probably from the ferry to the city. I don't exactly remember all of the details. But I remember I was sitting on the bus, and there was this white European guy sitting across from me who was looking at me. He was just like, I could, when you're sitting on the bus and you could just feel someone's eyes on you, and you look over and they look away, and then 2 minutes later you look over and they look away. This happened several times, and then finally he asked me, something in German. And I said, what? And he said, are you German? In English. And I said, no, I'm American. He thought I was German, which was a good guess because actually I do have a lot of German blood flowing through my veins from my ancestors. So we start to talk, and he tells me, hey, do you want to see if we can share a hotel? It'll save price. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. I was worried about my budget. Paul and I were very worried about how much money we would have left. So we were being very frugal. You know this if you've been watching this series. So to share a room with another traveler, if you're a backpacker, is always a great idea because, you know, what's the difference of a 30 euro room for one person and a 30 euro room for two people? Well, if you do it with two people, each person's only spending 15 euros. So obviously, so me and him, we get out the bus pretty late. It's actually, I think, well past 10 p.m. It's my first night on Crete. And we look for a hotel. We're just wandering around. No one's on the street. We don't have a GPS. We can't just say, Google, tell me where the closest hotel is. We can't just book it on Priceline. We don't know we're just wandering around, you know, and it's fun. It's fun because you're using your senses and eyes. You're not glued to a screen. You're just wandering around. And if you see someone, you ask them. It's actually a lot of fun, the old school way. I know technology has made everything very convenient, but the old school way actually has a very nice charm to it. So we finally do wander across a hotel. And we ring the bell because the door's locked. This hotel woman, it's a small little hotel, comes down and doesn't speak much English, but basically says, no rooms, no rooms. So it was full. And from her impression, we had a suspicion that we weren't going to find a hotel room very easy at this late hour, probably around 11 p.m., maybe late, or maybe even around midnight. So my friend, I believe he was French, my French friend, he says, how about let's sleep in the park? And I say, great. I had already slept in the streets with Paul in Italy, and there was something very exciting about that. Plus you spend no money. And I don't know. Okay, maybe this is pure vanity, or maybe it's a symbol of what I was about as a traveler. But I desired to be a badass traveler. I didn't want things the easy way. There was something within me that wanted, after hearing my Uncle Bob's stories, you know, if you ever talk to travelers, like I'm telling you guys how amazing Europe was in 2003 before cell phones and yada, yada, yada. But when I was there, people were saying you should have come to Europe in the 80s. It was way more real. And then people in the 80s were probably saying, you should have come to Europe in the early 1900s and then in the 1800s. There's always these old school travelers that will tell you how much better traveling was before, how much tougher it was. You know, like your dad telling you that how he had to walk 5 miles to school, that sort of thing. So I wanted to have a difficult travel experience. And for whatever reason, sometimes the universe grants you what you wish, because I was having a pretty tough time losing my partner, getting kicked up for trains, sleeping on the streets, and getting lost and all of that. So don't feel bad for me, because this is sort of what I wanted. And so me and my French pal, we go to the park. He sleeps on one bench, and then I sleep like 10 meters about 5-10 meters away on another bench just across from him with a big pavilion walking way. And I put my backpack under the bench, and I'm scared, someone's going to steal my passport or steal my money. I put a little towel on myself. And I remember waking up several times as wild packs of dogs. It was probably the same pack, but like a wild pack of stray dogs. This is something you don't see in America, at least in California. You don't see wild packs of stray dogs, but I encountered this several times in Europe, particularly the poor-speaking countries. I have one that I almost died, and that's not on this backpacking trip series. It's on my next series. But this one, these dogs were cool. They weren't aggressive. They wandered through, and I woke up and I just saw like 12, maybe more, dogs. Not very big, small and medium size, mangy, just running right past my bench. And that was crazy. And I was so happy they didn't attack me. So wake up, and I need to end up going to Sujia. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not exactly sure. But anyways, this Nude beach that my Uncle Bob told me to, I just catch another bus to a town and then do this hike. So I do that, catch this bus to this town and start this hike. And this hike is the most difficult hike that I had ever done up to that point in my life. I think I asked some locals where the trail starts, just saying Sujia, Sujia, and like doing the little walking feet motion so they know I want to hike there. They point along the coast, I believe, along the coast. And I find the start of the trail, and one of the guys points to this like yellow. See, people are very friendly when you ask for help. Most of the time, 90% of the time, people are very friendly. Maybe it was also because I was a young man. I think people are a little friendlier to younger people than they are to middle-aged people. Maybe that's not true, but I feel so. I don't know, maybe I was baby-faced. But people were very kind to me, so they point out the trail, and they show this, like, if you've ever gone hiking, there's like trail signs that will confirm or disconfirm whether or not you're on the correct path. Usually it can be a marker, sometimes it's rocks stacked up on top of one another. For this trail, there was like a little yellow line painted, a faded yellow line painted on certain rocks. And so I had to follow that yellow line. I couldn't really see like it was a trail. It was more like scrambling from one yellow line to the next. And several times I got lost. More than one time I got lost and had to retrace myself. I had water, but I was traveling with a backpack that was more than 50 pounds. And I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but it was. I had all of our cooking supplies. Now, Paul's not sharing any of the burden. I've got the tent. I've got everything. And I've got way more clothes than I need. I've got a Bible. I've got a lot of stuff. And more stuff than I needed. And that's one of the things that you'll learn. The first time you go backpacking, you're going to take way too much. The second time you'll take still too much. And it's not until you go backpacking enough times that you finally get it into your head, I got to take the bare essentials, because weight is a factor. So I've got this huge backpack, but I'm young, and I've always thought, on the flip side, the more weight you carry, the stronger you get, because you have to carry that weight. So there's always a flip side. And I'm going up these rocks, I'm clambering up them. Sometimes I'm on a dirt trail. At one point I see just this cutest flock of little baby sheep, little lambs coming down. And I know if you're from the country, that probably is very normal for you, but I had never, probably since I was a childhood, had been around baby little lambs. And so it was like a magical experience being around those lambs for the first time, probably since my childhood. And saw like kind of the shepherdess, like country women who were very, very traditional in their demeanor. And you go out into the country and people are a lot simpler, a lot more traditional, and that was kind of cool to see that. So I got lost a lot, and it was hottest summer Europe had in centuries. I'm lost. I'm going to show you guys pictures of the trail. So one picture will show you where I started from this town, Paleohora. Then another picture will show you where I had to go beyond that cliff. So although it is along the sea, so it's you can't get too lost. There was some inward routes and crisscrossing paths, and some of the yellow lines were either missing or faded completely, or my eyes just missed them. So it was a very difficult hike, heavy pack, a lot of sweat. I can't do it justice, actually. I thought I was going to die. Actually. And I don't think that very often. I have a lot of confidence in my physical capabilities of endurance and suffering, and I've got a lot of grit when I need it. But this was one of those places where I was like, I don't know where I could go to get any more water or help. But eventually I saw a little beach and I saw some people on a beach. So I made my way down to the beach, and it was a French tour group. And there were a couple tour guides, French, and a big group of French people. And, you know, they didn't have to worry about getting lost or hiking because they had a tour guide. And I made friends with the tour guide. I didn't make friends with any of the tourists. I made friends with the tour guide. And he was very interested that I had hiked all the way over there from Peleohora. They gave me a couple cookies, and they said they were going to go to Sujia, where I was planning to go, so I was welcome to go with them. So I made friends with one of the tour guides. We talked along the way. He spoke a little English, and I ended up going to Sujia, where my Uncle Bob told me and Paul, you got to go there in Crete. It is the life. So here I am in this nude beach, on this nude Greek beach on the very far side of Crete that I almost died to get to. And I don't see anyone my age. I see some families. I see like really old couples that are really fat. No offense, about being overweight, but fat and naked. And I see a father, middle-aged father, playing catch with his 10-year-old son, both of them naked. I see, it's really weird. And actually, for me, I love being naked myself in the privacy of my house. And if I could, maybe I would go outside naked. And probably today, actually, I would have no qualms at all. But at that time, I was a little bashful. I was a little shy. I was a little conservative. So it was really hard for me to really run over naked on the beach and wave hi to the other sunbathers. Not that that would be appropriate, but people mostly kept to themselves. At one point, I stayed there for a few days on this beach, hoping that this life would kick in. Never did. I was very lonely. This was probably one of the darkest times of my trip, because after Annie and Catherine left, after Paul left, and I was sad on Eos, and now I finally make my way here, sleeping in the streets, almost dying on the hike, and I'm on this nude rock beach with almost no services. Could barely just drink orange soda or eat bread. I mean, camping for free, but on hard rocks, and I didn't have a sleeping mat or a pillow. I just had a thin sleeping bag. I'm just sleeping on hard rocks. Can't sleep much. It's hot. There's only so much you can sunbathe because the sun is so strong. I'm on this nude beach, but where are all the beautiful girls? Just big, larger, older couples. Not interested. I saw a female bodybuilder. I chose not to look too close. No offense, but I was being polite. And families. It wasn't my scene, And I was just sad. And so I just started reading the Bible. And writing in my journal. And goodness gracious, if you read my journal, you would go, wow, this guy was really going through something. And then I decided I was going to go to Samaria Gorge, which was an excursion to hopefully get some exercise and just get away from this beach. So I leave my money at my tent. By the way, I had to wake up at 6 a.m. to catch this bus to go to Samaria Gorge from my little nude beach. Samaria Gorge is like a little tourist destination, with a river and hiking. It's beautiful. It's one of the places that you go to if you're in that section of Crete. So I just decided I needed to do something rather than just sit on this nude beach alone reading my Bible with no one to talk to. It's not healthy. So I have to wake up at 6 a.m. to catch this bus, and I don't have an alarm. I have no electronic devices whatsoever. So I just told myself, please wake up at 6 a.m. And I woke up at 6 a.m. Enough time to grab a roll, grab some orange juice, get on the bus, and I go to Samaria Gorge. And I remember the drive was gorgeous, seeing this proud wild ram or goat, probably a goat, but in my memory it's more of a ram, up on this high rock. It was so cool. And at the entrance, and they're charging for tickets. They're charging for entrance. You have to go to the ticket booth, pay, and there's a couple guys just at the start of the trail making sure that no one gets in free. However, and I didn't want to pay. I was very cheap, very frugal. However, and it was sort of against my principle. Why am I going to pay to go hiking? I understand. People have to keep up the trails and all that, but it just didn't factor into my 21-year-old understanding at the time. Anyways, I start to go up towards the ticket booth to see how much the prices are, and this massive cluster of French students just starts moving in a herd down the trail, and I just decided I was going to camouflage myself and pretend I was one of them. I had a little backpack, so I just started walking along with them, and I'm almost, I'm trying not to sweat because there's some serious Greek guys, middle-aged guys looking to make sure that no one gets in who hasn't paid. And they're like checking, looking to see, make sure. And one of the guys stops me and I just go, just kind of motion that I'm supposed to be going forward with the rest of my class, and he lets me go. So I got into Samaria Gorge for free as pretending I was a French student. So that was fun, and a little devious. So end up in Samaria Gorge, and I end up meeting this. I see a woman that was like, oh, she looks beautiful. Go up, and somehow we end up meeting. And she's actually older. She's like double my age. She's gone through some shit, has a couple kids. She's a spirit channeler, believes in the Greek gods. She's a Greek Australian. She calls herself a wog, and she tells me that's actually a deprecating term, but she didn't mind it. So she tells me she's a Greek Australian. I think her name was Gina, and we ended up hiking for like 9 kilometers together, having great conversations, and it was the first time I actually got to talk to someone since Paul left. I mean, I had little, things here or there with that French guy that I slept in the park with, little things, but a real conversation. And I must say that if you are going through any sort of depression, if you are going through any sort of part of your life where you're not happy, ask yourself, when was the last time you really got to express yourself in conversation? For whatever reason, conversation with people, really good conversations, not just simple chit chat, not just the pleasantries, but a real conversation where you share your feelings and share your dreams. It is so important. And I think one of the reasons I even like doing YouTube is that I get to share myself, sharing yourself and how you feel is very important. It totally relieved me and helped clarify in my mind what I was doing. By talking to Gina, this Australian Greek woman, I was like, and she's like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, well, I want to continue traveling. I don't want to go home. I was contemplating going home as well. I was so depressed. And she says, well, you should do it. I was like, you're right, I should. She's like, well, where do you want to go? I was like, I don't know. How about Egypt? She's like, yeah, go to Egypt. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to Egypt. So walking in Samaria Gorge, which I sort of got in for free, talking to this Greek Australian woman, my depression was uplifted for a moment, and I had a plan. I was going to go to Egypt. I wasn't going to go home. Despair is sometimes, it takes root when you don't have the creative fortitude to press forward in your life for action. And that was what afflicted me. So now I had a plan. Now I had a goal. I was going to go to Egypt. Thanks to meeting Gina. Thanks to being able to express myself, express my thoughts and my feelings. So I get back to Suji. I had left my money and passport in my tent. I maybe actually under my tent, buried under a rock. No one took it. No one had even gone to my tent. And spend my last night there. And the next day, head off on a bus to get back to the ferry station on the other side of the island to take a ferry back to Athens, because I found out I couldn't fly to Egypt, and I would take a flight from Athens to Cairo, Egypt, where I would continue the next leg of my adventure without Paul, just by myself, and with my depression lifted, because now I had a plan. Now I was creating my destiny. I wasn't just flailing in the river of my fate. And I felt good. I felt really good. I remember feeling grimy, wild, feral. All of the things that your mother says don't become, but I felt alive. Thank you for watching this story. My name is Ryan Freeman. I will see you on the next episode. Have a happy Thanksgiving.